First thing, when you have that feeling, think constructive escape. What can I do now in this feeling instead of going to the glass of wine?
Instead of being deconstructive.
Instead of being
destructive. Hello.
Hello. Welcome back. I'm Andreea Parc.
And I'm Dumitru.
And this is a new episode of How I Escaped Prison. And in this episode, we were thinking to introduce to you a new concept that we are working on. And it's called the Constructive Escape Movement. Last week, Alexa spoke about her constructive escape, about fashion and from the dusty sewing machine
that's older than me
in the basement to fashion shows and being a fashion designer, finding her constructive escape in fashion and in sewing and in creating. I didn't talk about my constructive escape. And I spoke about how I took control of my mind, and I was sane and I was surviving and I was fine. But then when I came home, it was a different ballgame. And I had to come up with things. So besides writing, I started cooking because I was cooking for my loved ones. But in the same time, it was an escape for me to find creativity within myself.
And somehow probably it was also because in the beginning you were cooking a lot of things from Danbury and from MCC. And I feel like somehow maybe it was a connection of transition, and old and new and trying to somehow process.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know if I mentioned that my book, Alive Again, started as a cookbook with prison recipes. And then I added the stories of the girls, and then I added my story, and it mainly turned into my memoir. But while I was processing the information of how the book would look like, I was cooking the recipes and taking pictures. And from there, I went to some other recipes, and being at the beginning, being in home confinement, I didn't have all the ingredients needed, and I had to come up with ideas, right? If the ladies in Danbury and MCC were able to
and it's
meals
because you couldn't buy them. I mean, you couldn't just go to the grocery store because you could have sent me or whatever it may be. But there are some ingredients that are in prisons that literally don't exist outside of prison, that are literally made for inmates. So it was not possible. Some of these items were simply not possible to get our hands on. Continue. I just wanted to put that disclaimer in.
Right. And for the book, for the purposes of the book, I wanted to keep the ingredients as authentic as possible. And some of them, yes, some of them are not existent. And it's a funny story in the book, with the chips that are only found in prison. And
we looked online once, and they were like super hard to get your hands on, and they were expensive. They were like somehow smuggled out and sold on weird websites, like really weird.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know, $20 for a small bag or something.
Weird.
Yes. And again, it's super interesting that I was away for less than 3 years. And the reentry took me probably about a year. It was confusing. I was totally outside of my comfort zone. And I was thinking of people that were in for many, many years. It was a lady there I met, was in 25 years. When she went in, there were no cell phones. So imagine that lady coming out into society after 25 years with the technology of today. And it's incredible, and my heart goes to those who go through these tough times. And it's also a funny story that I'm mentioning it in the book, how before I was a BlackBerry girl. I've never had an iPhone. So it took me a while to learn to use an iPhone. Fun fact. Yes, so that also was part of the constructive escape, because while I try not to spend a long time on the phone, on social media, but to take, because there is so much good information on social media, so much damaging information and wasting time, but it's so much good information, constructive information. And I was trying to get hold of that as much as possible. So this constructive escape movement that we're starting now, it will be translated into workshops and classes and communities. And we are inviting each and every one of you that listen to this to please share with us, either on the comments or send us an email. What is your constructive escape? And if you need help, we're here to help you find one. Because constructive escape as a concept is to find positive ways, constructive ways, healthy ways to channel your anxiety and overwhelm and stress that we all have in current society. And we've lived it, we are living it, and we invite you to join in this movement with us. The first class, probably we were thinking just to be a discussion, but then Alexa's new constructive escape is block printing, and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so recently I've been really into block printing, and for those who don't know what block printing is, it's a piece of rubber, and into this rubber you carve whatever design you want. I've been doing little oysters. I did little wine bottles. And you put the ink on the rubber stamp, and then you stamp it on fabric or paper or whatever it may be. So that has been my creative escape recently, and I've been loving it. And I think it's such a easy and fun way, because it's not like you create. I'm not a very good drawer or illustrator, but I copy from the internet on a piece of tracing paper, and then I copy that onto the rubber. So it's such like an easy, fun way. A little messy, but where's fun without a little mess? Um, and yeah, that's what we were thinking to do as a first sort of creative class.
As ideas that we can do anything,
Yeah.
totally. And
through our classes, you may find something that you are really interested in. I mean, we're planning on doing all kinds of classes from.
right, and that's the reason why we're inviting you to join for ideas, because some people, I don't know, found knitting.
Right. You may have
drawing.
never tried block printing and you may love it. You may have never tried cooking. You may love it. You may have never tried embroidery and you may love it. You know?
Right.
Oh.
Or even writing. Probably, I don't know. You might have. We all have stories, and we lived and experiences that you might want to start writing. You might want to start with essays or with novels. And you don't have to write a lot, but if you take your mind from the the thoughts that occupy most of your mind, that probably are not so constructive, and you focus on what you want to convey to people, and you start writing, then, or drawing or doodling, just scribble on a piece of paper and see what comes up. It's very, very helpful to your state of mind.
And somehow, when you're with other people doing these things, there might be, we might serve some wine or some cheese. And, it's a very relaxed environment where you don't have to create anything perfect. You don't have to put a piece in the MoMA or anything like that, but just simply to break away, spend time with some friends and fellow, humans, and just relax a little bit and try something new.
And the best way to start that, because I've been there and I know how it feels when you have that anxiety coming up,
Yeah.
and that emotions that you don't know what to do with yourself, and it's overwhelming. We've all been there.
That feeling here where you just want to crawl out of your skin.
Yes. And what can you do fast? You grab your phone and you scroll on social media. You grab a glass of wine or a drink. You grab some pills, some food, munching, or calling that a relationship that you keep, that person that you keep wanting to break off. You call that person, because we understand that we need immediate relief in that particular mental state. First thing, when you have that feeling, think constructive escape. What can I do now in this feeling instead of going to the glass of wine?
Instead of being deconstructive.
Instead of being
destructive.
or the cookie, munching,
Yeah.
Mindlessly. What can I do? Let me write. Let me, I don't know, make a cup of tea. Try to mix some herbs that you've never had before, that are not damaging, of course, and make a tea, or I don't know,
make some brownies, some healthy teas, or go on a run.
Go on a run. Or if you can't run, go on a walk. If you don't have time, just go outside and pick a leaf. Set your mind on a kind of leaf that you're looking for, or a color in nature, and look for that color. Do or go for shoe shine if you're in the city, or just sit on the street and observe people.
People watch. Yeah.
And I mean, we live in New York City, and of course it's super fun in the train. In my profession, I am fascinated by the psychology of humans, and I watch them, their facial expressions, their bodies, their clothing, and it's super interesting. And do whatever you can to take your mind from your destructive thoughts. So first thing, constructive escape thought, and then try to come up with something. If you can't come up with anything, just send us an email or send us a comment, and we're here to help.
Yeah. And that's why we want to create a weekly workshop program where you have that space to try new things, or to talk to new people, or to have that conversation. And we want to open that space up because we understand that it's really difficult to come out of our old patterns and habits. And we have been in that place as well. I mean, I have moments where I scroll endlessly on my phone. I do. We all do. I have moments where I, don't particularly do the best thing for me, and I do deconstructive things. But it's about how you move forward from it and how you take the next steps. Because also, not to feel guilty about having those moments sometimes.
That's what I meant to say. You're not alone.
Yeah.
And please be kind to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're here to heal lives one habit at a time.
Yeah. Even 1% better is better than you were yesterday. And that's okay. I mean, sometimes I beat myself up for not doing what I need to do in one day, or not reaching a goal for the day, or, taking an hour on my phone and scrolling for no reason. But that's okay. As long as it's not excessive and it's not a habit and it's not a problem.
Destruct.
Right. That's okay. And there's space for that, and you need to be kind to yourself and not judge yourself or not put yourself down for it, or,
Yes. And
we hope in our workshops that we can also hold that space. Maybe we do like at the beginning, we do like 5 minutes of what were some of your destructive habits this week. And then we start with, our class, but it's important to reflect on those habits and those little things that you do in the day that you aren't particularly proud of, but you don't blame yourself for.
Yes. And I don't like to use the word change because the mind doesn't like it, because the mind wants to keep us safe where we are, and that's our worst enemy. If we want to grow and heal, we need to take one step at a time. And studies show that if we change one habit at a time and we make small changes in our day-to-day lives, the percentage of success is over 85%. Small changes, one change at a time. Don't try to heal your entire life at once, because it's not possible.
Yeah, turn your life upside down.
No, because again, our minds are our best friends or worst enemies. How do we use our mind to be our best friend? As I say, is the game between it's me versus my mind. And there are ways where we can simply trick the mind for our best interests and move on powerfully.
And, especially if you find something, that you really enjoy doing, it becomes better than that destructive habit you had. And for me personally, I could spend days and days and days and days at the sewing machine. Not sleeping, not anything. It's just such a release for me, and I feel so happy and comfortable working that, I mean, it's something that I don't even think about my prior habits anymore. Such as eating. I had a problem eating before. And I don't have those negative, not negative, they weren't necessarily negative, they were just self-protection. Yeah. But I flipped those feelings and thoughts into a positive.
Yeah. Because what the mind says when you're reaching for the cookie, the mind says, oh, good, you need that. That brings you comfort. Go for it. Yes, it's okay. You can take another one. It's for your comfort. Just to be comfortable. That's what the mind wants.
I had a stressful day. I need a drink.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The first thing when you get out of work, I need a drink. Well, I don't know, maybe you start your own beer company or wine company. It's super interesting that if we put 18 minutes a day into learning something new, within a year, we become within 1% of the population in that specific skill. So if you learn making wine, let's say, 18 minutes a day, within a year, you can have your own brand, let's say.
For example.
For example.
And it doesn't even need to be such an expensive hobby,
No, it was
just an example.
An example.
Something like block printing. My set of chisels was $15 on Amazon. My set of rubber was $10 on Amazon. you got pencils at home. What else? Ink was, again, like $7 on Amazon. It's such, and fabric. I mean, who doesn't have fabric? You can play on anything. You can play on paper. I mean, it really, it's just a matter of picking up something and putting a little bit of effort into it, you know?
Finding something that is constructive for your life.
Right. Even writing. You don't need anything for writing.
Writing, yes.
Drawing.
Right. Or again, simply going out and feeling the air and
Taking your shoes
walking.
off in the grass.
Taking your shoes off, yes, and feeling the grass. Or, of course, if you're in New York City,
Yeah.
you're kind of tough to do that. But
we're in a specific situation.
In any event, there are things that what is necessary for this, it's the willingness.
Yeah.
It's the willingness to feel better. If you're willing to feel better, then you will find a way.
And if you're willing to reconstruct those habits and to reconstruct the verbiage of those habits as well, that's also very important. So we invite you to join us in our classes and in our escapades together.
In our movement.
To
constructive escape.
Yeah.
And we hope to see as many of you.
Even online, I'm sure we can have some online courses for people who are in New York and.
Of course.
Yeah. And we're open to ideas and we're open. I mean, it's constructive for a reason because construction looks different to everybody. And the goals look different to everybody. And we just hope to help you find that for yourself.
Because remember, salvation is individual. And if you really want to save yourself from yourself, the first step is to take control of your mind. If you have control of your mind, you have everything.
Yeah.
You can do anything.
And that's an important topic, actually. Salvation is individual, because a lot of people rely on their spouses or their children or their dogs or their cats or whatever it may be for happiness and to not be lonely or all of those things. But when you have yourself and when you're healed for yourself, you find happiness and peace and joy within yourself.
Without anything. Yes. And it's back to what we were talking about last week about responsibility for our own lives.
Right.
Nobody comes to save us.
Yeah.
And very important, we cannot save anybody else.
You are not responsible for anybody's joy, anybody's happiness. You are not responsible for anybody's emotions.
No. Only us.
Yeah.
And again, willingness, and then the door is wide open. Because when you are willing and you express your intention, of course, not verbally, but when you express it in your mind, then ideas will come, people will come, opportunities will come. And this is not necessarily in anything in life.
Yeah.
But by opening up to change, to heal one thing in your life, then you open the door to peace in your life.
And when you reform one one habit, excuse me, you start to realize what works for you and how to really approach the problem, and somehow every habit just becomes that much easier and that much more, you start to notice other things that you didn't previously notice, and just things come along much easier once.
Yeah, it boils down to awareness.
Yeah, of course.
And when we become aware of our lives, that is when it gets easier.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when the actual work with ourselves start, but it's easier to understand how the human mind works, and how by working with ourselves we can literally change anything.
Yeah. So again, we welcome you to our Constructive Escape workshop movement. And we hope to see you there. We hope to have a beautiful movement where everybody feels comfortable and happy and excited to join and to be with us and heard. And we hope to see you there. And we're so excited to start.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
for joining us this week. And if you're wondering, my simple t-shirt and mom's dress was made by me. So yes. See you next week.
Thank you. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.